actually less effort, making things easy. So that is the word actually means, therefore, technology and engineering, where you manufacture things because of which the life becomes easier and the efforts are less than otherwise would have been. So therefore these things are presented as that yes, you have lot of attachment to the pleasures. Okay, now let us see, just saying that no, I won't go towards those pleasures. Good, if you can do it. But if you cannot, okay, there is other path whereby you can gradually discard these by putting some that knowledge of God or Brahman into it. It is, if a child is not does not want to study, is just wanting to play, naturally, I never liked to, in my childhood, to sit and study and do the school work and all that. Would always try to find ways to avoid it. But then the parents, they would give some incentives. If you study properly, then you will get this. Now what is there? I would study to get that particular, toy or whatever. That gaining knowledge or getting the high grades, that was not at all I was interested in. But okay, if I study, I will get that toy or that sweet or whatever. So then coupled with that, now I would study, and then the toy goes away, the study remains with me. Even now, those things I was not studying with great interest. But then what I learned at that time still helps me, remains with me. The toys are gone. So exactly in this manner, that okay, do the worship. You want to eat nice food, it's very good, eat nice food, but just don't eat like that. Offer it to God. Think of God while offering. Feel that Lord is eating it. And then there are very beautiful worship mantras. They are all what we perform here as worship. All those mantras are from tantric tradition. So thus what happens, gradually you are getting connected to God without your being aware of it. And then that after all, eating food goes away, but that connection with God remains and grows. So these are the techniques used. And so, with the now we are reading on page 560. With the advent of Chaitanya, another change developed in Tantric sadhana. Chaitanya and the Vaishnava teachers who followed him believed that the dualistic approach towards God would be beneficial for most people. So they propagated the tantric mantras and the associated external worship, but they discarded to a great extent the non-dualistic practices from the tantric sadhana. Before this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's adaptation of the tantra systems, the tantras were a way to appreciate and imbibe the non-dual principles. Even you can see many texts of Shankaracharya, the non-dualist great teacher, they are tantric in nature. They are associated with tantras. So, in practice, even now many teachers of Vedanta, they do tantric for these, say, practices of worship, but they are non-dual. Kashmir Shaivism is a great example where you practice non-dual system in a tantric way, a great idea. But what happens is, for many people who are busy with the day-to-day life and are not so evolved to feel the oneness, they are therefore more qualified aspirants for the path of dualism. Here one must keep in mind, in Vedanta and all these paths like dualism and qualified non-dualism and absolute non-dualism, all three are not contradictory in their nature. It is none of these three schools or their further these divisions. None of these schools accept multiple fundamental realities. They all accept one independent reality. Others are dependent on this. Only in the three schools, the levels of dependence are differently described. That's all. For a person who is seeing the world, is addicted to the world, I and the world is a big division. This line between them is difficult to erase, even intellectually. That person, all our science, all physical, psychological sciences, biological sciences, all are dualistic in nature. Because that is the source of science, subject and the object. I am the one who is studying, examining the object. And so objectivity, there is actually no objectivity there, but still a scientist imagines that I am objectively examining something. It is actually, there is the subject automatically gets involved, you cannot remove it. But still they study as object. So this being the very deep rooted understanding that I and the world are there. And so now, okay, you can then think of a creator who has this I and the world division. So this is the dualism, that think of a reality, the creator, and you and the world, the created. So now you have to propitiate the creator. After all, everything will happen by the wish of the creator. It is, you did not make the world. Somebody who made the world has put the laws there. You may discover the laws, but you cannot make the laws. The one who has made these laws can change them also. And so you try to get closer and closer to that reality through this understanding, the maker of you. All Abrahamic traditions, they are, that is Judaism, Christianity and Islam, they know this kind of religious practice, that our Father who are in a heaven, somewhere in the heaven, that bearded fellow, old bearded fellow is sitting and governing the universe, whatever. That Michelangelo concretized these images in the minds of people. That God from heaven is ruling this world. And what should we do? We should propitiate God, we should pray to God, and so forth. It's difficult to pray exactly as Jesus taught, because Jesus was a man of renunciation. So we do that, but as only as a verbal service. I have a lot of my wishes, my will. I want my will to be done. But I say, let thy will be done. It's a training. Gradually one has to transform from my will to God's will. So these are all dualistic practices. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that. There are the qualified non-dualists who try to see. That is another tendency in human beings. And there is the tendency I and the world, dualist. There is the tendency, another one, which is to see the unity in diversity. All these things are different, but there is some common thread that runs through all these. There also, the independent reality is one, but the others are kind of parts of this. So that is called qualified non-dualism. And the total non-dualism is where the world is taken as the illusory appearance only. It is an appearance. One gets this delusional experiences in this world. You see the magic, and then in magic you see many things that actually were not there. Now what is it? You know that you get deluded. And how do you know that you got deluded? Because when you subject that experience to the fact check, then you see that they are not real, they never were real. So similarly, this understanding of I and world, where do you draw the line, where I ends and the world begins? You don't know. Even what we call inside, many times, those who have the understanding of anatomy, human anatomy, they say, no, that is outside actually. Although you see it inside, it is not inside, it is outside. Like our GI tract, right from the throat down to the anus, it is all, but this is a outside pipe. The processes that go on, one doctor told me the other day, they are your part. But the pipe is not you, it is outside. So that's funny. So what is inside, what is outside? And you see that this is actually an illusory understanding. And so, all is actually one without second. That is the non-dual aspect of it. So all these three divisions come into play only when one has to explain the existence of the world that we all see. So this dualism becomes more approachable for people of so-called scientific temperament. For scientific temperaments, non-duality is very difficult to adopt to, because non-duality tells you there is no subject and object, and your science all depends on subject and object. So therefore, the scientific attitude is and human beings are by nature scientific. So therefore, our religion also becomes more inclined to dualism. Whatever we may utter by mouth, it is uttering by mouth is very easy. I am non-dualist. There it is because it is intellectually titillating. Non-dualist ideas, they have become intellectually titillation. But it is a common scientific person will not be able to proceed with science with that. Impossible. So therefore, most of us are fitted or suited for this kind of practice, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore put aside the non-dual aspects, and then God and me, I and God. The relation is formed to gradually make the non-dual experience possible. Then what you call doesn't matter. That is the teaching here, that okay, go to God. Why worry about it? You and God. Now form a relation. You can see that the two are becoming one in that relation. You become one. So therefore, this man and this woman, two, they are a couple. That couple is one, singular. It becomes one. A family, it is singular. This person, multiple. A nation, like say India, 1.4 billion people. Now, and there are so many people, but the nation is one. So, thus the duality gets sucked into the non-duality. So this is the way adopted. Look at the tremendously effective psychological tool employed here. Form a relation with God, and thus you and God become a related single entity. So, thus this was taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu using various techniques that especially it is the various these things teachers, they accept the subtle parts of offered food. The original tantric teachings and the food that as we offer here in our worships, we use that idea that the deities through their just vision, they take it through their vision. They don't take the part of the food neither gross nor subtle, but except they cast a glance on that, and thus it gets purified, and they take everything through vision as it were. Vaishnavas, they wanted to make it far more tangible. So deities, they taught that actually take the subtle or even gross food. And so the worships also became different, more elaborate. And it employs the treatment, the deities that, treat the deities as you want to be treated yourself. The best things that you would like to get for yourself, offered the best things to the deities, and so make, you see, there are so many types of different food offerings are made. The idea is, well, I like them, so make those things now for God, the best quality. So there is therefore the tradition of offering 56 delicacies to the image of Krishna. 56, Chappan Bhog, 56 delicacies are to be offered. So, funny things, but that is the idea is that so many, whatever I like, let me give it to God. So, thus those worships became very elaborate too. So, and they gave lot of emphasis on the name of God, that repeat the name of God. In Tantra systems, the name is as such not given as much importance. In Tantras, what is called the seed mantras, they have the importance. Like Om or Kling or Reem, these are the seed mantras. But in Vaishnava system, the name of God, like Narayana is to be uttered, Krishna is to be uttered, Hari, 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 that is to be uttered, the name. Because the name and the one that is named are indistinguishable. And so by practicing name, you can get it. Now this system gradually, as happens with everything, human nature of going into sense enjoyments and forgetting the goal of life. When it is told that, okay, that have these enjoyments, but transcend them by holding on to the truth. It is, what happens is, the truth is discarded and only the enjoyments are kept, and thus the degeneration happens in all the religious systems. It is a common occurrence. This is the it is the time principle. It happens in time. In time, things degenerate. The time does not create an organized system, but an organized thing, unattended, in time it degenerates. So, this gets sometimes called as second law of thermodynamics. I am not getting into the technicalities, but it is, that is how Shankaracharya says that it is in time. Anushthatru nam kamodbhavat. Very beautiful short couple of words tell volumes that those who are supposed to practice these disciplines, what happened to them? That the desires took the upper hand. More money, more enjoyments, more power to rule others, and all those things became more prominent than the practice of spiritual or religious disciplines. So this is how the degeneration takes place very easily. And once, that doesn't require effort. To degenerate, you don't require effort. To properly organize, generate, cultivate, you require efforts. It is to build character, you have to put yourself into some discipline and all that. Spoil character, what Naomi, does it take efforts to spoil your character? No, if you don't make efforts to build, then what happens automatically is that, Therefore, it is that happens naturally, one doesn't become even aware of that. Sri Ramakrishna himself, he went to see an underground, that coal mine there. And then as was going down there, the path is slowly descending. And you don't even realize that you're going down. Well, you look, oh wow, I have come down 3 floors. And now you have to walk up. Now the strenuous efforts have to be put in. So to uplift oneself, these efforts are necessary. Degeneration is a natural process. So it is. So early Vaishnava teachers tried to keep their traditional ideal high, but eventually it degenerated. Soon after these teachers passed away, worldly-minded people adopted impure practices and polluted the pure path that had been introduced. Men shunned subtle ideas in favor of gross objects. That is how one of the important, it's a great statement. The subtle ideas are lost, the gross objects are held on to. One important example in all religions, I am giving a well-known idea in Christianity, the cross. Now, as an object it remains. It is difficult to think of it as the ideal of sacrifice, the ideal of that balance and harmony that is associated with it. It is in fact many times used for violence against some other community. That it is. Therefore, the gross objects are held on to. That is my religion, that a cross or some such particular thing, that it is the gross objects, a temple, that or a particular image of, say, Lakshmi or Saraswati or Vishnu or Shiva, that remains. The idea in that vanishes. It is difficult to hold on to it. So therefore, in time these things happened. And what happened? But what else could they do? Because they were incapable of leading such a pure life, they absorbed a mixture of yoga and bhoga, the path to God, and then the path to get more and more sensual enjoyments, that is bhoga. So they wanted to be spiritual and at the same time keep a little desire to enjoy sensual objects. For that reason, various modes of worship and secret esoteric practices evolved among this sect of which Vaishnavacharan was a leader, Kartha Bhaja. Kartha Bhaja was that. It had very pure ideal, as you can see, but then mixed with certain these enjoyment tendencies were there, so that people can gradually give them up and connect to the pure ideal of yoga. But instead of that happening, I mean, that happened in many cases. Not that everybody was like that, got spoilt in that. No, many used it. As Sri Ramakrishna mentions, that there are people who were actually taking hold of these things, gradually overcame those tendencies. It does happen. But then many who are, especially those who are not very sincere and introspective, they soon give up the ideal and hold on to the external because that is enjoyable. It is, and there it gives a false satisfaction that I am religious. I am not having just enjoyment. It is religion. I am practicing religion. Easy. Swahananji had told a nice joke that a couple, husband and wife, they got up in the morning and the wife told the husband, please you make coffee. Husband said, okay, well, I can make, but you can also make. Why I should make? We are religious people, we have to live according to the instructions of the Bible. It is, well, what is there about making coffee? You can also make religiously. No. Have you not read your Bible? See, in Bible it always comes, he brews. He brews. So he has to brew, she doesn't brew. He brews. So, therefore you have to make. So that is how the religions, they come to that level. Who doesn't like to eat very nice food? So, therefore make it and somehow make a kind of pseudo offering to God, and then you yourself eat it. All the entertainment programs, let us have the program of bhajan and all that. Now it is good if you have the saintly teachings given in the musical tones, that it is fine. But what happens is the teaching part goes away, only the enjoyment of music gets held on to. So these are the dangers here. But this path as such is dangerous anyway. It is, therefore, people take it up. So this is described on the next page, that this Kartha Bhaja means Karta is the one who is the doer, the one who is a highly evolved being. It's called Karta there. And then you worship that being as imbued with the divine spirit. So it is called, there the Bengali colloquial word is given, that Aleklata. So it is, this Alek means the alaksha, that which cannot be seen, unseen divine principle, that which is beyond mind and body. That principle is entered into a being manifesting there. So that person gets called an Karta. Uh, so Aleklata is that it's called Kartha Bhaja. Regarding the real nature of Aleklata and its descent on pure spirit, the Kartha Bhajas say it comes imperceptibly and goes imperceptibly, and no one can see this Alek. He who has known the Alek becomes the object of worship in three worlds. As the sign of the male, and that is called their Sahaj. Sahaj means without effort, easy, that gets called Sahaj, natural. Sahaj means natural, automatic, spontaneous. So, it is spontaneously present in that being. So, that being gets called as master. So, but what happens is in this world, dust and gold, an aspirant cannot make any progress in spiritual life if he or she does not remain detached. So they taught lot of teachings on detachment. Here there are some many beautiful songs and ideas about remaining detached are given. I am looking at the clock and our today's time is finished. We shall discuss this. This is on page 561. This third para. We shall begin with that on next Tuesday. We shall now meditate on these ideas. I know that it is today's discussion, because of the topic, was rather dry, but still very interesting and important within it. So let us meditate on it, and then after 30 seconds, if you feel like asking a question, you are most welcome. Yes, please.
No question, no web question, Swamiji.
Okay, very good. Any questions from here? So we shall conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.